In the following tutorial, I would like to show you how to create sun-shadow transitions using the newly created sun-shadow brushes, dynamic brushes for the epigraphic survey. I'm using an ink drawing that was already created digitally many years ago, and obviously without all these tools the line quality is not necessarily up to our current standards. However, I will use this as my template to show you the power of these new brushes. I will use a lot of preset brushes in this tutorial. So, for example, as it used to be for all our inking procedures, we just had a sun brush that was not by any means preset with any stabilization or color attributes, but now we have a brush that is much smoother when handled and creates a much nicer seamless curve. When used for sun shadow transitions, in the past we had two options. One would have been to just lay down a path that follows the curve of say this vulture's head, and then stroke this path, and then move it slightly. So when you stroke it, it creates a curve, and then when you move these paths during on the sun shadow area like this, then it creates a thicker sun shadow transition. However, it's very cumbersome to create, and sometimes it deals with line segments between two anchor points in a way that the line becomes a little angular at stages, so you have to use a lot of you have to do a lot of corrections. Now, when let's just go back to the other option we have here, and that would be using just a sun line and build up the sun shadow transition by adding to the line. For example, here I would have to add more, so I would have to either start on this end and try to add and then gently fade it into the sun line. Now, well, of course this is more or less accurate, but when you lead a 10 pixel brush into an already existing 10 pixel line, you face with the problem that you're using the same line width, and it often results in a bumpy transition. So you have to do a lot of erasing, then it goes into the negative space, so you have to switch to a smaller brush size and do further adjustments, and then go back and erase, and it's a long process that sometimes gets you into more trouble than you would necessarily have to face with the pen tool or using paths. And of course, this is a long process with a lot of switching between tools. So with the new brushes, some problems of the sun and shadow transitions can be completely eliminated. For example, if I'd want to use a sun and shadow transition over this face, I would, with the regular 10 pixel sun brush, I would just draw the outline for the entire shape, either inside or outside the line, for the entire sun shadow transition, just using the sun line, and then switch to, say, in this case, because it's a very fine transition, switch to the fine sun and shadow transition brush, and then start adding to it. And as I add to the line, it starts fading into a very thin line, very thin brush stroke. So I never make the mistake that I did before to join in my thick sun line with another line the exact same brush width. So basically I have much more control over how it's created. You can see that this brush stroke fades into a very thin line, sort of creating a sun and shadow transition by itself, and as you add more to it, it becomes really nicely transitional. And of course, when you add the 10 sun line towards the end, it becomes exactly as we want it to be, transition from 20 pixels into 10 pixels. So basically this line, this newly designed sun shadow brushstroke, creates a much smoother curve much faster than before. Now when you look at it, like for example in this negative space, again what you have here is a sun line transitioning into shadow line. So I'm going to work reverse, starting from here and then adding to the line to build up the transition. And again, because my line is very fine towards the edges, it just disappears. Basically, I don't have to focus too much on how I lead this line into the sun line, because by the time I reach the sun line, it's already so thin that I don't have to worry about leaving the path that leads into it. So with these new set of brush strokes, with their attributes preset, meaning their color and smoothness, and these fade out transitions already preset for the brush, it's really easy to create such transitions, like for example sun and shadow transition for a sun disk that would have been quite complicated before. As you see, this is a lot less time consuming than playing with paths and other anchor transitions.